lovely friends. Welcome to my online studio. My name is Kate, and this is a short tutorial about crow pose. Okay, so crow pose is an arm balance, and it's the pose where you have both of your hands on the floor, your knees are resting against the backs of your arms, and your feet are floating. Okay, there are two types of crow pose. One is the crow pose, which we're going to be practicing today, and the other is crane pose. And crane pose is where you have your arms straight, okay? So crow pose is actually with bent arms, yeah? So bent arms is the theme of today's class, or today's tutorial, okay? Now, my friends, for this class, we're going to need some kind of assistance, yeah? So now that might mean that you have two very big thick books that you can use, yeah? Or maybe a couple of rolled up towels that you can also use, yeah? One is for standing on, so you are going to need something that will take your weight, okay? Now I've got two yoga blocks here. My friends, if you already have yoga blocks, that's great. Okay, and we're going to go on ahead and practice a little bit of how to get into this pose. Now, arm balancing is pretty much all arm balances employ the same kind of technique, okay? And this technique is leaning forwards into your hands and gripping the mat with your fingertips, okay? So it's almost as if you've got to get over this fear of leaning forwards and bringing your face down towards the floor, yeah? You've got to trust that you are able to hold your body weight, okay? Now, crow pose, technically, you do need some shoulder strength and a little bit of core strength, but there are ways that we can manage to balance on the hands without using so much upper body strength. Yes, you do need some, but there are techniques and things that we can do that employ less of these muscles. So if you are a little bit sore in the shoulders, or if you need to build up your upper body strength a little bit, that's okay. You can still technically do a crow pose, okay? So there are different ways to crow, all right? And none of them are wrong, okay? All of them are okay. Basically, it's a case of how you want to engage your muscles in the pose, okay? So there are different ways to crow, and we will work through all of them today, okay? I think there are three ways to do it, and then crane is the one with the straight arms, okay? So, my friends, first things first, as this is a weight-bearing pose on the wrists, we're going to warm our wrists a little bit, yeah? So extend your arms out in front of you, shoulders a little bit down away from the ears, point your fingertips towards the sky, spread your fingers nice and wide. Take an inhale here, and then as you exhale, just flip your palms down, bring your fingertips towards the floor, and imagine you're going to reach back and try and touch your elbows with your fingertips, yeah? So really stretch. Inhale, flex towards the sky, really spread your fingers and really imagine here that you're stretching this back part of your wrist. And then gently exhale, point your fingertips down towards the floor, reach back and imagine you're going to try and get your fingertips to touch your elbows. And we'll do that a few more times. Now your breathing just needs to stay nice and simple, deep and long. Yeah, we're trying not to stress the body too much here by breathing into it. And you might find already that your shoulders are starting to sing a little bit too. This is also a shoulder warm-up, yeah? So keep going with your hands up and down, really flexing and really bringing those fingers in towards the elbows, okay? So we'll keep going here, keep going as fast or as slow as feels good in your body today, yeah? It doesn't matter. So we'll take the last 5, 4, 3, good job, keep going, 2, elbows extended, and 1, well done. Shake out your wrists a little bit, and then we'll come on to all fours. Okay, so we'll come here onto all fours, and then make sure that your hands are really directly underneath your shoulders and that your knees are a little bit underneath your hips. And we're just going to begin by turning the fingertips out to the sides, and then we're going to rock, we're going to sway a little bit over to one side and over to the other side. And each time you sway, you're going to lift up the opposite hand, come onto the fingertips, and imagine that you're dragging your little finger and your thumb towards each other as you press into the mat. Okay, as you sway over to the other side, you're going to roll down your hand, bringing your palm to the floor, and then imagine gently rolling the other side, bringing fingertips to the floor and squeezing your thumb and little finger in towards each other. Okay, and we're going to try and keep this as controlled as possible. So really squeeze your little finger and your thumb towards each other as you come up onto your fingertips, swaying left and right. Doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go. Totally okay to do this at your own pace. Use your breath as a guide maybe, and be mindful here that you're not overdoing it. Yeah, we don't want to go so fast that we lose all tension in the hands. The hands need to be engaged the whole time. So really pressing your fingertips down into the floor and really dragging that thumb and little finger in towards each other. We'll go here 5, good job. And 4, well done. Shoulders engaged, 3, well done. Press the floor away each time. 2, nice job. And last round, 1. There we go. Okay, sit back on your heels. Give your wrists a little bit of a shake out. Give your shoulders and maybe roll them a little bit. Shake out everything. Maybe open and close your hands a few times. Okay. And then just to warm the spine a little bit here, we can work through a few rounds of cat-cow. Okay, so cow pose is actually cat pose, is actually very beneficial when we practice a crow, because in crow pose, we need to round the spine, yeah? You've got to really tuck your tailbone under. Okay, so we're going to work through a few rounds of cat-cow. So bring your hands down underneath your shoulders, your knees are underneath your hips, yeah? Knees are about hips distance apart. And then just begin by sinking your belly down, squeeze your shoulder blades lightly onto your back, lift your chest and look up. Stick your butt up towards the sky. Exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under, press the floor away and look back at your belly button. Inhaling, coming back through, squeezing shoulder blades lightly, stick your butt up, look up. Exhale, rounding your spine, pressing the floor away, tucking your tailbone, looking at your belly button. Inhale, come back through center all the way. And we'll take 2 more like that. Exhale, round your spine, press the floor away, tuck your tailbone, look back at your belly button. Last one. Inhale, sink it down, stick your butt up. Exhale, try to imagine engaging your core here as you pull your tailbone towards your face. Good job. Come back through center and sit your butt down on your heels. Shake your wrists out a little bit. And then we're going to first practice our crow pose on our butt. Okay, so slide your hips over towards one side and swing your legs around, bringing your feet out in front of you. Okay, so my friends, I'm going to turn around a little bit so you can see me better. All right, we're going to bring the feet in as close as we can to the chest. All right, now from here, extend your arms out in front of you. Yeah, and then imagine that you could bring your knees to the outside of your shoulders. You're really going to press your shoulders forwards. Yeah, I'll turn around again so you guys can see better. So really press your shoulders forwards so the top part of your back is a little bit rounded. That is totally okay, all right? Now shuffle your feet in as close as they'll get, and then imagine that you're going to press your knees to the outside of your shoulders, okay? So really press your knees in towards each other here and really engage the adductors on the inside of your legs to squeeze those knees together, okay? Now from here, bend your elbows a little bit. Yeah, and imagine that your hands are flat on the floor, and now look where the floor would be, okay? See how short that distance is between your nose and the floor, yeah? There's not much there, is there? Yeah, so if we're trying to do crow pose with straight arms, see how much distance there is between your face and the floor. Okay, now this takes a lot of strength, actually, so you keep squeezing your knees into your arms, okay? And then keep your elbows at about 90 degrees, okay? And look at where the floor would be, okay? So obviously the floor in our imagination here is on an angle, but that's okay, yeah? You can really imagine, okay, the floor is not that far away, yeah? Okay, come on back, relax your legs a little bit, spread them forwards, and shake them out. Okay, so that was one version of our crow that we're going to try in a minute. And that one is with the knees squeezing into the upper arms. Okay, it takes a lot of core strength. It's quite a tough one. Yeah? Okay, so bend your knees again and we'll try option number 2. Okay, so bring your knees in a little bit towards you. And then imagine here that you have this little flat bit on the top of your knee. Okay, there's like a little depression just before your patella is sticking out, yeah, your knee cap, yeah? Just before that's sticking out, you have this little depression, and it's like a little flat bit on the top of your knee, okay? Now bend your elbow and look at your elbow here, right where the joint of your elbow is. There's also a little flat bit. And then imagine here that you could put the knee, the flat bit of your knee, against the flat bit of your elbow. And when you bring your knee in a bit closer to your bum, your forearm and your shin make one line, okay? So bring your other knee in and then bend your elbow and place your elbow directly on top of your knee. Spin your palms back to face you, and then imagine here that you're looking at the floor, okay? Oh, the floor is not that far away, actually, is it? Which means that I have to lean forwards a lot to make this happen. But it also means when I'm upside down, that I'm resting my bones against my other bones. Yeah, so you kind of stacked your bones one on top of the other. So actually, what's taking the weight of your body is your hand and your wrist, hence the wrist warm-up, okay? So this one is actually quite accessible if you can get your hips up high enough, yeah? So high hips is also a thing. And it's quite accessible even if you don't have a great deal of upper body strength or core strength, yeah? Because you're basically stacking your bones one on top of the other. So, all right, so that was option number 2. Give your legs a little wiggle out, okay? And option number 3, take your knees out to the side, bend your knees a little bit, and then reach your hands forwards once again. Now from here, my friends, we're going to imagine that we're going to make a little X with the shin bone and the tricep. Okay, so we're going to make a little X across here. Okay, so we're going to, the cross of the X goes right in the middle of your shin bone and your tricep. Okay, and we're going to do that both sides. Okay, so now when I look down at my arms, my shin makes one arm of the X and my tricep makes the other arm of the X. Now this might mean that my elbows are out to the sides a little bit, my hands are a little bit in towards each other, maybe the fingertips have turned in slightly. Doesn't matter. It's okay, yeah? Totally okay. This is also quite accessible if you are new to yoga. It's quite an accessible way to crow, okay? So again, look at where the floor would be. Keep your elbows bent, very important. And look at where the floor would be. Yeah, it's not so far away. Okay, so come on back. Good job. All right, so now we need your props, okay? So my friends, from here, we're going to place one block at the front of your mat, or one of your rolled up towels, or your book on its end at the front of your mat, okay? Now, if you are insecure here, and you think to yourself always, oh my God, I'm going to face plant, it might be an idea to place a cushion or a blanket or something over the top of your block, yeah, or over the top of your book, so that when you come forwards and when you lean down and forwards, you don't think, oh my God, I'm going to break my face, okay? The other block or the other rolled up towel or book, we're going to place on its side more towards the middle of your mat. Okay, so more down towards the middle. Now from here, my friends, we're going to try to imagine that we're going to place our hands kind of in the middle of the two. Okay, so we're making a diamond with our two blocks and our hands. Yeah, the two hands are the side-to-side points of the diamond, and your two blocks are the end-to-end points of your diamond, okay? Now from here, tuck your toes under, lift your knees a little bit, walk your feet in, and step your feet up onto your block, and then sit your butt down again, okay? So notice here that your feet are now a little bit higher, okay? And if you lean forwards a little bit and you think, oh, no, I think I'm going to break my face, then move your cushion or your block or your book a little bit further forwards, because we're going to try to imagine that we're going to bring the forehead down towards the block, okay? The forehead, not the teeth, all right? Okay, So from here, my friends, plant your hands down, spread your fingers nice and wide, and grip the mat a little bit with your fingertips. So you can almost imagine that the ends of your fingers turn a little bit white, okay? And make sure that your first knuckle and your thumb knuckle are pressing down into the floor, all right? And we're going to, from here, lean forwards into your hands and lift your hips up as high as they'll go, okay? Now we're in this sort of short little downward facing dog. All right. Now from here, my friends, come up onto your tippy toes as high as you possibly can. And then spread your knees open to the side like a little froggy. Yeah, so really open up your knees. Bring your knees as high up into your arms as you can and really squeeze your knees against your shoulders or against the top part of your arm. Okay? Now we're going to take that first option that we did on our butt and we're going to do it now upside down. Okay, so my friends, from here, bend your elbows back beside you a little bit and rest your legs on the top of your arms like a little shelf. Squeeze your knees in as hard as you can, and then imagine here that you're going to lean forwards and come up onto your tippy toes, and imagine that you're going to bring your forehead down towards the block, or towards your cushion or whatever. Squeeze your knees in towards each other. Maybe your feet float and maybe they don't. It doesn't matter. But try to come high onto your tippy toes. Grip the mat with your fingertips. Squeeze your knees in towards each other. There we go. And come on back. Now, don't worry too much if your feet came up or not, all right? All we're trying to do here is get the sensation of moving the weight into the hands, all right? And gripping the mat with the fingers. So the more, the more further forwards that you can lean and the more you can bend your elbows, the easier this gets, all right? It's also very, very helpful if your hips can come up really high, yeah, because once your hips are up and over your shoulders, you don't need so much, it's basically your hips will do the momentum for you, okay? So the next variation that we took was stacking your bones, okay? So once again, plant your hands down, shoulder distance apart, and then imagine here that you're going to lift your hips up, bend your elbows a little bit, and then try to imagine that you're going to bring your knee, the flat part of your knee, to the flat part of your elbow. Lean forward so one foot can come up towards your bum, and the other one stays on your block. Lean forwards, rest your forehead against your block or against your cushion, and then imagine bringing the other knee right to your elbow and kicking your heel towards your bum. Okay? Now that might feel a little bit strange, that's okay, but your forehead is resting on something, so it might be easier. Grip the mat with your fingertips, inhale, and then exhale. One foot comes down, the other foot comes down, okay? So the more you can lean forwards with that one, the easier that is, and the more you can kick your heels towards your bum, also the easier that is, and your hips need to come up super high as well. So that's another option to take, and it might feel easier, it might feel harder, it depends on your body type, all right? So you find one that suits you, all right? This one is actually very, very nice, yeah? You can make an X with your legs, and that's totally and utterly fine, yeah? So what we're going to do, place the hands down, underneath your shoulders, shoulder distance apart, okay? And then from here, we're going to press the floor away. So your top of your spine rounds a little bit in all of these options, okay? Each time, we lift the hips up before we start, okay? So really press the floor away, lift the hips up. Come up onto your tippy toes, spread your knees open to the sides, and then imagine that you're going to make an X with your shin bone across the top of your tricep. Yeah, so squeeze your elbows and your knees in towards each other. And your hands can turn a little bit inwards. It's okay. A little bit inwards is all right. Elbows can come out to the sides a bit, no problem. Again, lean forwards, bend your elbows a lot, and imagine that this little X, you're resting your shins against the back of your triceps, okay? Really, really fine to do that. Lean forwards. Maybe your feet float, maybe they don't. Maybe your forehead comes to your block or your cushion or whatever. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. and then come on back down. Okay, now that one, you don't need to squeeze your legs in so much. You can, yeah, but the actual action of taking that little cross with your tricep and your shins is super helpful, yeah? And it might mean that your crow pose in the beginning is kind of flat, yeah? Oh, it's okay, it's no problem, yeah? Absolutely no problem at all. With time, yeah, we can move into our crow pose without the use of any props, okay? We can take any variation that suits the body, and we can begin to bring the knees into the armpits, okay? So we're employing all of the above things that we've just practiced, yeah, but we're really bringing the knees up into the armpits, okay? So we're resting the knees against the back of the arms. Again, we're employing this technique of leaning forwards, and then maybe the feet will come up, maybe they don't. The elbows stay bent. This is crow pose. With straight arms is crane pose. It's a different pose, but it employs lots of the same techniques. Okay, so my friends, I hope crow pose makes a little bit more sense to you now, but if not, don't worry about it. It takes practice, okay? And it takes getting over the fear of leaning forwards. And that's why it's really handy to have something under your face. So make sure to remember, bend your elbows, warm up your wrists every time. And if you want to now, we can shake the wrists out a little bit, rotate them, give them a little bit of a break. Okay? Open and close your hands a few times. Do whatever feels right for you. And feel free to take any variation of these crow poses that suits your body. Some, for example, if I say, this is maybe more accessible for people, blah, 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 and it's not accessible for you right now, don't worry about it, yeah? Sometimes what the teacher says and what actually works for your body is totally different, okay? So you can feel free to just discard anything that I say that doesn't fit you and your practice today, all right? So my friends, as always, have a beautiful day, and I hope to see you soon on the mat.